Okay, everybody, it's just gone 2 o'clock, so we'll get kicked off with this afternoon's session. We have some quite exciting speakers on the theme of data governance. So some very interesting speakers, so really looking forward to that. You're very welcome, obviously, and thanks for staying around and for joining us today, and for continuing to join us. I mean, data governance is a real challenge for us on projects. We're currently seeing a much bigger increase in the requirements for BIM being delivered on projects, but the challenge around how we check that data, how we verify the data, how we make sure the data is fit for purpose is still a major challenge on projects, and is a challenge for all the teams we work with as well. So interested to see what people have to say. We have a number of speakers. The session is broken down into 2 halves. In the first half, there's myself, Pat Slattery, followed by Marcus. We have Paul and Ulrich, and I'll introduce each one of those as we get to it. Hopefully you can see the slides okay. I think it's a little bit bright, but hopefully you can see that okay. After the break, we have Paul, and I won't read those out. We'll come back to those at the following session and introduce those as well. But we have a really good set of speakers today, so hopefully you can stay with us. Understand that people will choose different sessions to go to, but yeah. At the end of each session, we'll have a short panel discussion. I'll invite the speakers back to the stage. So please, engage, ask any questions you have. Don't be shy. This is your opportunity to get some feedback. So there'll be a panel discussion at the end of the first session. We'll have a coffee break, then we'll have the second session, and a panel discussion at the end of that. And then we'll let you get on and get organized for going home or dinner or whatever you're having to do today. So my name is Pat Slattery. I'm one of the founders and directors of ArcDocs, along with Ralph Montague, who I presume at this stage you're all more than familiar with, has been hounding you for the last months. So we're a BIM consultancy practice, so we work with companies and we work on projects, trying to tie the process together, trying to bring the information together in an organized process. And it's a challenge for us and for the teams that we work with constantly, ensuring that the data is correct, the data is fit for purposes, that the data is specified correctly is a constant challenge on the projects that we work on. I've put my details up there, but keep in touch, let us know what you're doing. We're free for discussions afterwards as well. We also have a stand down by the entrance, stand number 9. If anybody wants to chat with us, we have some people there. I just want to say, just in terms of data, because we're talking about data governance and we're talking about data, I just wanted to stress that when we're talking about the types of data that we need to check, we really need to keep in mind that there are different types of data that we're checking. And when we talk about that in a BIM setting, we're really talking about graphical data. And this is what most people see as data when we talk about BIM and we talk about models, is the graphical data, the graphical representation of the objects that go into our building. But we're also talking about non-graphical data. And that's probably the more challenging thing to understand and to get right and to specify and to check on our projects. And also documents. We still have documents. So all 3 of those are forms of data that we have to deliver on our projects. And when we talk about BIM, that's really what we're talking about. All 3 forms, and checking all 3 forms are delivered properly on the project to the required standard. So, out of the graphical data, we get our documents, our drawings. The non-graphical data gives us our schedules, gives us access to things like COBie data, if you're familiar with that, which all needs to be checked. It's very useful information, but we need to understand what we're getting. It needs to be appropriate to the project stage and appropriate to the use of that information. So we need to be clear in understanding what it is we're being asked to deliver, and then we need to be able to check, verify, validate that that information is correct once it's delivered. And that's one of the things that's really missing. We're getting better at delivering the graphical data, we're getting better at delivering the non-graphical data and the documents, I believe, but we're not very good really at checking to make sure that they're all good or good quality. And remember, of course, that if you're not doing BIM, obviously everybody here hopefully is doing BIM. If you're not doing BIM, then the only thing you're checking is documents, because that's really all you've got. So really, just in terms of managing this, managing the data on a project doesn't just happen by accident. It has to be properly managed. And some of you are probably familiar with this, but we do need these two lists, two critical documents on projects we would find in order to manage the inputs into the model. So what data are we putting in? And also, what are our outputs? What data are we getting out of the models? So in other words, what's expected to go in and what's expected to come out of our information model? Who's going to put it there? You know, what actor, what person, what role did they perform on the project? And when is it required? At what stage of the project do we have to provide different parts of the information? And where does that information go? Where does it go on the CDE? What files are going to be delivered to the CDE? And then once we've got those two lists, we then have a facility to check. So you've planned, and now you've delivered, and now you can check. Without these lists, then it makes it much more difficult to manage the data on the project. Now again, some are probably familiar with this, but I just wanted to say, just be aware that the responsibility matrix is really that first list that I'm talking about. This is a list of all of the things that go into our model, all of the objects, the systems, the spaces that make up our buildings, all of the things that we expect to find in the model. So that's our inputs, listed out in a responsibility matrix. So responsibility for delivering each part of that information is assigned to a person and assigned to a project stage. We also have our master information delivery plan, which lists all of the outputs that you require on your project. All of the files, all the types of files, all the documents that have to be delivered to the CDE. Again, by project stage, again, by responsibility, and assigned to an individual on the project. So once you have those two lists, again, as I said, you now have an ability to check. You have an ability to check that what you said should be in the inputs are actually there. And also on the outputs that are delivered to the common data environment, you're able to check, are all of those outputs delivered? Without these lists, and we see commonly on projects that people won't put the time and effort into producing these lists properly. Without them, without defining what it is you're checking, it's very difficult to provide a good quality check of what's happening on your projects. So that is really important. Now, you also need standards to manage BIM, and there's lots of standards. ISO 19650 is only one of a suite of standards that are available for managing data on our projects. And I just wanted to mention this Explorer, or EU Standards Landscape Explorer, that's available, has been produced as a project by UCD, by people at UCD, as a research project. It allows you to search the standards, allows you to search the standards by role, by type, by various different interfaces. It's put out there for you to try, have a look at. I find it very useful, just having had a quick look at it. There's a number of different ways to view the data. So you'll see a number of different buttons there that will allow you to search for standards, to view the standards, the relationship between those standards, how they work together to deliver what you need on your projects. Now, Connor has shared this with me. Just as I say, they've put this out there as a trial. There's some links here, some QR codes that will allow you to look at the research publication, to explore the dashboard. So the QR code there in the middle allows you to get onto the dashboard, but they are asking for your feedback. So if you could have a look at that, the final QR code there is a questionnaire. And if you do have a look at this, if you do like it or don't like it, or if you like some parts of it or don't like some parts of it, please fill in the survey. We'd love to get your feedback on that. So that's it. So checking information is absolutely key. It really is key. So I'm really interested to see what the other speakers have to say about data governance, and how their tools, their applications, their processes allow us to do that, and their insights into that as well. And I just want to introduce our first speaker. It's Marcus Helfert, who's Director, Innovation Value Institute at Maynooth University.